It's 2023, and in GT Online, there's like, what, 600 vehicles? There's quite a bit. But which one has the highest top speed? The actual answer might surprise you. You might think it's a supercar because those are the most expensive. If you did want to guess outside the box, maybe you think it's a sports car because usually those are one notch under supers, and surely if it's not a supercar, the highest top speed vehicle in the game must be a sports car. But no, both of those are wrong. The highest top speed car in GT Online in 2023 is a muscle car. So let's go ahead and hop in and take a look. Now, the one fundamental thing that I just want to point out before we get into the actual top speeds is the way GTA physics work and how they affect the car top speeds. I'm going to use this Italy RSX here as an example. So all the tests in this video are on a complete straight line. That'll give us the highest top speed, yes, but it's not exactly accurate if you're driving around in Los Santos. So you can see with the Italy RSX here, we hit out at about 130 miles per hour on this perfectly flat and straight road. While driving it around the city, that number goes up quite high. It actually hits about 160, I think, at a certain point, because the physics of this car, the physics of GTA Online, are broken. Certain vehicles have these properties where if you hit bumps, if you're on like a bumpy street, for whatever reason, the car gains speed. I don't exactly know how that works, but certain vehicles have that attribute. Now, what you might notice, if you get that speed, the car doesn't handle that great. You probably will crash. It's not very easy to control. So even if you are going 160 miles per hour, you're not really controlling that easily. So I wanted to point this out because the numbers we're going to take a look at are just on a completely flat and straight road. So if you're doing certain stunt races and stuff, these numbers might apply more. But with the Italy RSX, we just seen 160. I mean, yeah, that's probably one of the highest top speeds if you're using the broken streets of Los Santos as a metric. But I don't really think that's that accurate or even really fair to all the other vehicles, which is why we are just going to use a perfectly flat and straight road. So again, I just wanted to point that out, make it clear what and how we're sort of testing these vehicles. So let's get into the list. Now, of course, these top couple of ones are vehicles that have boosts. I'm going to put them in here. I'm not counting them in this list because it's cheating. You know what I mean? It's got rocket boosts. Of course, they're going to be faster than the regular vehicles, but I'll put them in here. We'll start with the Vigilante. What you're seeing, this one is actually the highest top speed out of all the boosted vehicles. It tops at 150. So that one, if you're, I guess, really looking for the top speed, there you go. There's also the Oppressor Mark 1. This one hits close to 148. So that's probably the second one. Of course, you can fly as well, although I think it's a little slower in the air. Then this one might surprise you because it surprised me. The ZR380, one of the arena vehicles, because these arena vehicles have this boost. It also goes pretty quick. It tops at 143. And then there's a couple of other arena vehicles. The Death Bike is another example. This one, I believe you can actually wheelie to go slightly faster as well, but this one's about 142. There's also the Scramjet, I think is also 142. There might be a couple of other arena vehicles, but I didn't really want to put all of them in here. But yeah, these 5, they all have boosts. So of course they're going to be faster. So the highest top speed of the regular vehicles that we've already established is not a supercar, not a sports car. It's actually a muscle car. It's one of the newer vehicles in the game, the Weevil Custom. This little car has the highest top speed in GTA Online. That is crazy. If you're wondering what the actual speed is, it is 135 miles an hour. So on a straight line, on a completely flat road, 135 miles an hour is the highest top speed any car gets, if it's a regular car, of course, without the speed boost. And it is this muscle car, the Weevil Custom. That for sure shocked me when I was going through this test. I was wanting to know what some of the higher top speed cars are in 2023. And for sure, this one was not on my list. And I'm surprised it's definitely number 1. Now, as far as what comes next, this is where, of course, we get into a bunch of the supercars, sports cars, bikes even. The second highest top speed is the Torero XO, a somewhat newer vehicle. This one tops out at 133 miles an hour. This is a supercar, so at least there is at least one supercar up here. As we'll find out though, there's a lot of sports cars with the highest top speeds, surprisingly enough. The third one though is actually probably the best bike in the game, the Power Surge. I think it's an electric bike. This thing is an insane acceleration, but it also has insane top speed. You will hit 131 miles an hour on this Power Surge. So those are the top three: the Weevil Custom, the Torero XO, and the Power Surge. Coming in at number 4, we have the Italia RSX, the vehicle we were looking at the beginning of this video. This one, like you might have seen at the beginning, tops out at 130 miles an hour. And this is a sports car. So we have a sports car beating a handful of supercars. Some supercars that are $3 million, in this sports car is beating it. Coming in at number 5, we have another sports car. This one's a very old sports car, the Pariah. This one is just 1 mile under the RSX. This one tops out at 129 miles an hour. But again, another sports car in the top 5. Now at number 6, and I guess, okay, maybe this one's tied with 5 because it's the same speed, but we have the Krieger. Now this is a supercar. I believe it's actually one of the more expensive supercars, but it will also get you to 129 miles an hour. And there's actually another vehicle, another supercar, a recent supercar that also hits 129. So I guess all of these last 3 are going to be tied at 5 if you want to count it that way. The Entity MT though, this one will top out at 129 miles an hour as well. Then we actually go back to another sports car. This is a car I feel like is very underrated. I actually forgot this was even in the game, but the Lampadati Corsita. I believe it's a relatively newish vehicle. This one will actually hit 128 miles an hour, so one under the 3 we just mentioned. I believe we are on the 9th highest top speed with this next one, the Devastay 8. And this one comes in at 127 miles an hour. Of course, this is a supercar. Again, I think it's one of the more expensive supercars, but you will eventually hit 127 miles an hour in it. And then the 10th vehicle, if we maybe just want to wrap up the top 10, the Banshee 900R. This is a super old sports car. It was a supercar. It was a sports car initially. You bring it to Benny's, upgrade it, then it becomes a supercar. Its top speed actually hits 126 miles an hour. So to wrap up the top 10 all on a flat road with no bumps, this is the top 10 list. I also just want to point out that I'm not really including wheeling on certain bikes because there's a couple of bikes that if you do wheelie, you can hit insane top speeds. But again, you can't really control that. So I wanted to go just truly off of the top speed of just normal driving, but this is the top 10. Now, some other vehicles that were very close, we'll just go through them. There's a couple of them that are at 125 miles an hour. There's 4 in particular, the Coquette D10. This is a sports car. This one will end up hitting 125. It might have hit 126 at a certain point for like a second, but for the most part, it's 125. Then we have the Tesseract, another very expensive supercar. This one will top out at 125. We also have the X80 Proto, which is a very expensive supercar. It will top out at 125. And then we have the Pifster 811, a very old supercar that also will top out at 125. After this, that's where there's just going to be a lot of cars, so I'm not going to really go and dive too deep into them. But all the vehicles we've taken a look at so far are definitely the highest top speed vehicles in the game. And if you're wondering, just because I was curious how it compared to some of the very recent new cars like the Virtue, this is the new supercar that just released that you can get for free. It's $3 million, but you can get it for free. It's an electric car, and because of that, I guess the top speed is very low. This is a supercar, again, $3 million. The top speed is only 119 miles an hour. We also have a handful of these sort of race style cars. I think this one's the LM87. It only hits 120 miles an hour. We have this one, sort of F1 style car. I believe it only hits 122 miles an hour. There's also the Hakachu Drag, one of the other faster motorcycle vehicles. This one only hits 123 miles an hour. And that's actually where we're going to end the testing, because again, after this, there's just a bunch of cars between like 124 and then 115 or so miles an hour. So I didn't want to go through all freaking 100 of them. But this is probably like a good top 15 list of the highest top speed on a straight line. Again, things may be a little bit different if you're driving it around in the city. Some cars may go faster, like we've shown with the Italia RSX. But this was definitely surprising for me. In 2023, not a supercar, not a sports car, a little Beetle muscle car has the highest top speed in the game. Now, you may be wondering, if you're on the new consoles, what about the HSW vehicle? All the footage you saw was on PC, so I don't have the HSW vehicles, and I wasn't going to go and spend like $600 on shark cards to get money on the PS5 to test the HSW vehicles, but according to a list I found, here are the highest top speed HSW vehicles if you're on the new consoles. So you can see the Hakachu Drag is actually the highest at 157. The Vigero ZX is actually second at 157 as well. Again, not super or sports cars, so following the same pattern, I guess. The Sterling GT is third at 156. The SN95 is at 155. The Banshee, 153. The Dev SC8, 151. And the Entity MT at 150. So that's the HSW list if you're on the new console. So anyway, that's going to do it for this GTA Online video. Hopefully you now know what the highest top speed car is in GTA Online, if you were wondering. And hopefully this gave you a good idea, if you're maybe looking for cars with higher top speeds, what to buy. So if you did enjoy the video and found it helpful, please drop it a like, subscribe for more GTA content, and as always, I'll see you all in the next one.